recovering from a bankruptcy or something, theatre was my solace. So I've been doing this only for Marathi. For instance, I did a series of 8 ads for Amitabh Bachchan. And there's a satisfaction which comes with thinking, उसने बोला मेरा भी उसके साथ हो गया. You should always say yes to life.
Okay.
All these, and I did paragliding after 2 heart surgeries. And if there are enough stories, we'll write an article which we'll send off to say Outlook Traveler or something, and get published, famous हो जाएंगे. That was the whole concept. So it was on this thing, करके देखें क्या लिखेंगे? हाँ लिख लेंगे. And goes around town saying राजा चोर है, राजा ने मेरी टोपी ले ली. कि today I am not going to do anything. Would anybody like to tell a story? So cut my hand goes up. And that story is fresh in my mind. So there are 275 cross references in the book itself. अगर मैंने किताब में है तो मुझे पता है. And tried to locate the people who were involved in this. So for 4 days, I and my wife actually walked through the jungles of Silvassa, looking for the tribals who fought in that battle. There's a court judgment available which is about this thick.
Of course,
so there are many original government documents also available. So the moment everybody says ये नहीं हुआ तो ये देखिए है. So that's how it comes. I have the proof. I have the proof. I like to do that. So there are 332 written Ramayans and there are over 3,000 oral tradition Ramayans.
How many people did you interview while you were writing for this book?
Over 150. And he explained कि ऐसे जैसे हम यहाँ broadcast करेंगे, then it आकाश में से जाके उधर आवाज सुनाई देगी. So she said, oh, Akashvani. And it became a name. Spain gives visas very readily to anybody willing to come and work in the tomato fields. उछाल दी है, ये प्लेयर पीछे भाग रहे हैं, बॉर्डर के पास है, बॉर्डर में जाएगी कि नहीं जाएगी, पकड़ा जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा, कि छक्का हो जाएगा, कितने रन होंगे. Because when I went into the market, every shop was running commentary, where Mohammed Rafi is heard the most. So बताओ, it's not only radio in Kerala.
Episode of the next show by Magma. Today with me I have a voiceover artist, somebody who's been very active in the theatre industry, somebody who's been a cricket commentator for, oh my god, that sounds amazingly crazy. And of course he's an author with an amazing set of books with him, fiction, non-fiction, for kids, adults, and who's been a bestseller throughout, who sold multiple movie rights, have new books coming out, and the list goes on and on. I have with me, that's his latest book, the co-author of Akashvani, Neelesh Kulkarni. And Neelesh, sir, welcome to the show.
Good to be on the show.
Thank you so much. How are you? How's everything
doing? Very good, very happy, very creative, and in the right space.
Wow, I love the spirit that you're having all together. So Akashvani is your latest book, right?
Yes, it is.
Otherwise, how has your journey been? What have your writing journey, your overall career been looking like?
See, there are 2 journeys running parallel to each other. One is the creative journey, which started at the age of 6 when I first went on stage for theatre.
Oh, wow.
And continued. It continues at least every 2 years, every 1 year I try to do a play.
Okay.
There is a voiceover journey which started at the age of 8 and continues till date.
8. Okay.
There's cricket commentary which is now stopped
because
I can't keep up with the late hours that a cricket commentator's life demands. So I did about 200 matches and let it go, which is something I couldn't carry. And then there is a writing journey for which I'm here. And the writing journey started after I turned 60. I'm now 70. So it started when I was about 62. I think the first writing contract came through.
Wow.
It resulted in a book called In the Footsteps of Ram Travels with the Ramayana, in which we traveled all the way from Ayodhya to Sri Lanka and back, tracing the steps where Prabhu Ram went during Vanvas. So it was a book which was travel accompanied with mythology, both running parallel to each other. So that put me in the author field. It was published in 21, though we started work in 2019. So 21 with HarperCollins, I did that, which was translated into multiple languages, into a web series and so on. And then the bug bit me. And then I started working on other books.
Wow.
So there has been an anthology with Westland called Where the Gods Live. There has been a kids book which involves another facet of me, which I have not yet declared to many people, which is that I love performing magic tricks. So there is a small book called Magic Tricks for Kids.
Yeah, I know that book is about tricks, but I didn't know that you perform magic tricks.
It's called Magic Tricks for Kids. And then there's a book called Uprising, which is about the struggle against the Portuguese in a place called Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Now the story is that 1947 India got independent. and the Portuguese refused to go, whereas the British and the French did, and all the royal states also signed with the Indian government. So, because the government of India was not taking any action, some individuals decided that they would take action themselves. They raised finances, brought arms, attacked that area, and liberated it in 1954. So that is another untold part of the freedom struggle, which it is undocumented completely. So I wrote a book on that, which will soon be a movie. And then there is Akashvani. 5 as yet, and 2 more contracted with Westland. One already written and in the publishing, it's in the pipeline, and another one yet to be written.
Oh my God, that's such a colorful journey.
7 books by the end of 26.
That's
Yes.
Cool. I never knew, I mean, yes, I've gone through your bio and everything, but I never knew the writing journey started for you like
Very late.
Pretty recent.
Pretty late, yes.
But okay, this is I'm curious, either some of your passion or some of your creative side started when you were very early in your life,
yes,
like 6 and 8 is like actually too early,
yes,
or very late. It's after 60 you're talking about. What were you doing in between? What all happened in between?
No. The journeys that started continued. So I was doing theatre, I was doing voiceovers. Cricket commentary happened during this period only. No, cricket commentary also happened after 60. So you are right. It is either before 10 or after 60.
Wow.
So a lot of things were happening in the meanwhile. One of them was that I was pursuing a corporate career. I finished school, college, and then I did my MBA from FMS. Went into a corporate career, got sick of the corporate, set up a business for myself. Went bankrupt twice, recovered both times, came back and started working all over again. So all that took a lot of time, a lot of energy. But I did not let go of theatre in the meanwhile. So even when I was, recovering from a bankruptcy or something, theatre was my solace. I mean, I may be a poor or on the street businessman during the day. I was a king in the theatre at night. I mean, I was playing, whatever I was playing a king or I was playing a warrior. I was all that at night. So it gave me all that much more energy to fight back. So I think it's all moving together. So I did that, and the voiceovers were a regular thing till 2 years back. I was doing voiceovers every Thursday. Till 1 year back.
Voiceover lesson, is that for theatre?
I'll tell you. Also, no. Voiceovers are when you record in the background for either radio, where there are radio stories, radio ads. You hear those voices saying, "Istemal kariye, phir dekhiye," ya "Ye gaadi ka ye." All those are the voiceover voices. And then the most important segment of that is when you are dubbing a documentary or an advertisement into another language. So I've been doing this only for Marathi. So my voiceovers are Marathi. My theatre is both Hindi and Marathi. And my commentary was also Marathi, which is my language. Yes. So, for instance, I did a series of 8 ads for Amitabh Bachchan. And Amitabh Bachchan had recorded these anti-tuberculosis ads. So I was the Marathi voice for him. So there the voiceover consists of watching Amitabh Bachchan on the screen, listening to his Hindi dialogue in your headphones, having a Marathi script in front of you, by which you are reading out at the same time, trying to ensure that the voice inflections are the same as his actions. So that the moment he says hi, then my hi should come at the same point of time. I can't be saying no then. So that is the most complicated kind of voiceover work, but something that's intensely satisfying. I mean, you are so alive at that point of time. कि आप सुन भी रहे हो, देख भी रहे हो, पढ़ भी रहे हो, बोल भी रहे हो, and there's a satisfaction which comes with thinking उसने बोला मेरा भी उसके साथ हो गया. And out of these 8 ads, somehow I was blessed that I did 5 in one take. So I was so delighted for months together. I think that is the real advantage of doing too many things and doing the things that I do. That you feel so high for a while after you've done this. So that high is what I crave. Money comes with it. You get to know people. People get to know you. But that's incidental. What happens is the high. That is really something that drives me.
Very inspirational for that man. Like you were telling, you've tried starting business. You went bankrupt, but then you came back again.
Yes.
What was your biggest learning in your life?
Oh, there are plenty of learnings. You could fill the room with them. Because that's how you grow. If you decided there was just one learning, then you wouldn't grow. You would always stay stuck to that learning itself. I think my biggest learning probably was that you should always say yes to life. So when opportunities present themselves before you, the worst thing that is going to happen if you take them is you will fail. So big deal. Who succeeds all the time? So therefore, if you decide that the moment an opportunity comes up and says ye karega, I'll say yes. Karke dekhunga. So I've done all kinds of things like bungee jumping and all, everything I've done. I've done parasailing, all these, and I did paragliding after 2 heart surgeries. So it was like,
Wow.
होगा कि नहीं होगा, करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना, करके तो देखते हैं, तो मर गए तो डायरेक्टली चले जाएंगे, मतलब बिग डील, तो जाना तो है ही, so what's the big deal, ऊपर से ऊपर चले गए तो at least the transit will be
Easier.
the time will be lesser, you know, you don't have to get stuck at ground level. So I did all these things after that, all on a dare, कि करना, or not on a dare as in चौड़ा होने के लिए, but to myself that if it's there and I can do it, why don't I do it? That doesn't mean being foolhardy. For instance, now after heart surgeries, I'll not do bungee jumping because I know it's not permitted. So it's not foolhardy. It's just being open to experiences, open to people. That's how the first book happened, incidentally. That's how the first book happened. This friend of mine, Vikrant Pandey, and I go back 40 years, and we were traveling together. And Jaipur, he's a translator. So he used to translate a lot of Marathi books into English. So we are sitting in a hotel room in Jaipur. The women have gone shopping, and we are trying to drown the stress of their shopping in trying to, you know, hold inane conversation. So we are talking to each other, and suddenly he asks me कि रामायण के बारे में तुझे क्या क्या पता है, चित्रकूट मालूम है किधर है, तो ऐसे कि हाँ चित्रकूट है, तो यू नो ऐसे कहीं इधर से नजर इधर से, he says that's 500 square kilometers, so do you want to really go and look at it, चलते हैं, and ऐसे नेक्स्ट ट्रिप वहाँ का बनाते हैं. Then he said कि यार वहाँ जाते हैं, रामायण से कुछ कनेक्शन है, देख तुझे पता नहीं मुझे पता नहीं, we are both well read people, maybe many people don't know it, तो चित्रकूट जाएंगे, we'll travel there for a day or two, we'll look around, and if there are enough stories, we'll write an article which we'll send off to say Outlook Traveler or something, and get published, famous हो जाएंगे. That was the whole concept. तो चलो करते हैं. So we went there, and against the standard 2 days that people stay, we stayed there for 9 days. And we went to every single place connected with the Ramayana and discovered that when we wrote that out, it was about 15,000 words. So we said if one destination is 10 to 15,000 words, if we went to all of them, it would be maybe 75,000 words, which it finally was. So the journey started. So it was on this thing, करके देखें क्या लिखेंगे, हाँ लिख लेंगे. You know, my theatre journey started. For that matter, that entire course of my life started with raising a hand. Like my father was a very good storyteller, so he would tell me stories with full action, like full to action. So one evening he tells me the story of the monkey whose cap was stolen by the king. There's a story in which the monkey decides कि इससे लड़ाई तो नहीं मैं कर सकता. So he buys a drum and starts beating the drum, dum 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 dum, and goes around town saying Raja chor hai, Raja ne meri topi le li. And the king gets so embarrassed he gives the cap back. Now this is the story which my father recited for a full 7-8 minutes with full activity, dol baja ke and all like that. Next day it so happens that I go to school, I'm in standard 2, standard 1 or standard 2, and my teacher is absent. So there's a substitute teacher who comes in and says ki today I'm not going to do anything, would anybody like to tell a story? So cut, my hand goes up. And that story is fresh in my mind. So I go there and I dance and full to performance I give them. Next day I am cast in the school play. And then the journey begins. So just imagine that split second of raising my hand. If somebody else had raised that hand first, or I had hesitated for 5 seconds, my whole life would have followed a different trajectory. So that's saying yes to life. That's my learning.
I think that's like a complete good self-help book in itself, saying yes to life.
Say yes to life,
amazing. So the person Vikrant Pandey you were talking about, he's also your co-author in Akashvani.
For 2 books, also for the Ramayana book.
Yes. How was your research process, right? Because like you said, you've been focused a lot on non-fiction books, and I can understand from your energy and everything, you research a lot,
I do.
Understand the story, history, the facts from people. I'm sure you would have talked to 1,000 people before you wrote any of your books. How has that entire research journey been like, and you're traveling for it? I love the research part of it actually. It's not the most boring part because it is the one that actually gives you a structure. Isn't it? So every book is thoroughly researched. For instance, the book called Uprising, where again, each of these books, whether it is Akashvani, whether it is Uprising, whether it is in the footsteps of Ram, they are all first time books. Meaning no one else has written about that topic before. So I don't have a point of reference. So I'm creating the point of reference for others to come when I write my book. So Uprising, for instance, is such an unusual story of just 22 people attacking 375 fully armed soldiers and driving them out that it seems too filmy to be true. Therefore, it had to be indexed. So there are 275 cross references in the book itself in the form of footnotes. So that's how I work. Otherwise, I don't feel happy. Because tomorrow, if anyone in a podcast or in a live session asks me a question, I don't want to be caught there saying मुझे पता नहीं है. अगर मैंने किताब में है तो मुझे पता है. That's how I work. That's how. So how does the research take place? Now, research normally means going on Google. So that is my last option. Because Google could lie, Google could misdirect anything, any number of things. Not Google. Exactly. So anybody could be writing anything on it. So that is something I just glance at first, but I read a lot about it.
For instance, the book on the Ramayana, I, besides the travel part, because the mythology story, runs parallel to it, I read 6 Ramayans. And I read over 330 commentaries on the Ramayana.
Okay.
Various commentaries meaning articles and such like essays on the Ramayana to understand what it was all about. Then we decided to take Valmiki Ramayana as the base and then move from there. So that and travel. Well, that was a travel book. So very obviously we had to travel. But Uprising could have been done at the desk. But I actually went into Silvassa, stayed there 3 times. We stayed almost 20-25 days over there and tried to locate the people who were involved in this fight, in the struggle. So there were some people we have been able to locate. They are in their 90 pluses now. Or there are families and there are photographs of those people hung up on the wall. So we went to the families and we had the wife saying कि ये ना इस खिड़की से निकल के इस पाइप से स्लिदर करके नीचे आए थे और यहाँ से वो सामने पुलिस स्टेशन था. Now that feel that you get is not something you can get doing academic research.
Of course,
you have to move.
You have to be there.
And then you also unearth a lot of stories when you go into the field. For instance, when I went to Silvassa, this fight against the Portuguese was done by a group of boys from Pune and a group of boys from Goa. Some of them have written memoirs which have part of the story, their part of the story. Nobody has the full picture which my book has. But when I went to Silvassa actually and talked to people on the ground, I found that there is a third element. The tribals are also fighting the Portuguese at the same time. But nobody has mentioned them because the tribal has not written a book. So for 4 days, I and my wife actually walked through the jungles of Silvassa looking for the tribals who fought in that battle. And we finally located the house of the ex-queen of the tribals who had actually, encouraged them to join the fight. So this is a story I discovered only because I was there. Nobody knew it outside the tribal community. So this is a story which came as an addition to this. So I write and I do a lot of field research.
So how was the documentation like, especially for the uprising chronicles of places like the Dadra Nagar Haveli stories and everything? These are not documented in our history. I don't remember reading anything about these.
It is not written at all. It's not written at all.
In our textbooks, in our reference books, nowhere. So when you went back for your research, like you're telling, yes, you had a lot of people helping you out, but overall, how was the documentation? Like,
I'll tell you. There are individual memoirs which are available to you. Now those memoirs again are very biased because each one who's writing a memoir is showing as if he was the one out of the 23, other 22 were dormant and he just went and he shot 370 people and threw them away. So you've got to cross-check those memoirs with other memoirs, with other data available. Then there are a lot of newspaper reports which were there and there are government reports also. For instance, there are letters which the governor wrote to the in charge of the administrator in Silvassa, or the letters that they wrote to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru saying this has happened and we want to. There's a court judgment available which is about this thing. So there are many original government documents also available. So all these were put together. And I make it a point that when I use a document in my book, I make sure it is xeroxed or and there's a hard copy available with me at home. So that each book will have a kind of small place in my bookshelf where all the research documents of that book are there. So the moment everybody says, "Ye nahi hua," so ye dekh, ye hai. So that's how it comes. I have the proof.
I have the proof. That's amazing.
I like to do that.
Interesting. So for your book about Lord Rama's journey, and you went to each of those locations, you were telling me you were researching or you read different Ramayans.
Yes.
And this is always a confusion for all of us who are into mythology also, because there's Valmiki Ramayana, there's Srimad Ramayana, there's Kamba Ramayana, there's Mani Ramayana, and all of them have different references, different narratives. There are instances in each of these Ramayans that are not there in the other one.
Absolutely.
And I'm from the south. The certain versions that I know is completely opposite of what is actually the people in the north talks about. So how confusing was that research, and how did you actually concise and come together that you want to follow Valmiki Ramayana?
First, I'll tell you about the reason why there are so many Ramayans. See, as a religion, Hinduism has always grown by assimilation, not by exclusion. So it has always grown because wherever you went, there was a certain practice being followed. And those people said that, oh, we can't be Hindus because we are worshipping a lion. So we said, wo to Narsimha, hamare Vishnu ka avatar hai. So we assimilated those people into our religion. There was never violence or aggression to expand your religion. It expanded as a natural, organic process of more and more people joining the mainstream. Therefore, you have symbolism of different forms. And there's also the Advaita philosophy which says that ultimately they are all one. Between every living thing, there is always God, and that God is you. So there is always Tat Tvamasi or whatever as the Rigved says. Many such phrases. Aham Brahmasmi, for instance, it says. So they are there. So now, in a similar way, the Ramayana has travelled all over the country. and wherever it went, the story is so powerful, so inspiring. The symbolism is so good and so close to the heart that everybody wanted the Ramayana to belong to them.
True.
Therefore, every
Very
state,
much.
every area, everybody would say, okay, Ram, but he's from Ayodhya and he fought in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So what's in it for me in, say, Karnataka or Tamil Nadu or Kerala?
Yeah.
So then the people who were part of the religious fraternity there would say, "Kya re Ram to yahan bhi aaye the."
Of course.
And unki kahani hai na.
Yeah.
People would say, "Kya kahani hai?" Because it was mostly passed on by oral tradition. So there are 332 written Ramayans and there are over 3,000 oral tradition Ramayans.
Yes.
Part of puppetry, part of theatre, part of
True.
stories, part
True.
of dance, part of music. So there they would write their own story. But then when you write somebody else's story, how do you make it relatable to your people?
Yes.
So therefore you include local symbols. That is where the stories diverge. So in every kind of Ramayana, the core story remains the same.
Yes.
With a few notable exceptions. For instance, in the Devi Puran Ramayana, it is Sita who actually kills Ravan. Ram doesn't.
Yeah.
So this will differ depending on your own faith and
Of
the
course.
kind of line of thought you are following.
Yeah.
But fact remains that ultimately the core story remains the same. The periphery changes to match the local cultural tradition
True.
and to also match the period in which you are existing.
Yeah.
For instance, your Kamba Ramayana in the south or the Tulsi Ramayana are both treating Ram as God.
Yeah.
Matlab, no compromises, clear cut God.
Yeah,
That's it.
It
Hai na?
is.
Sita Maiya is God.
Yeah.
The Valmiki Ramayana
Yeah.
treats him as an Ansh avatar of God. And he has to be reminded on 2 occasions that he is actually Vishnu.
Yeah.
So the treatment changed because the Valmiki Ramayana was written thousands of years back.
Of course.
And the Tulsi Ramayana and the Kamba Ramayana were written when there was Muslim dominance in the country. The Tulsi Ramayana was written at the time of Ramcharit Manas, at the time of Akbar. So there was a lot of Muslim influence increasingly going into the country. So they wanted, I'm not saying that the influence is good or bad. I'm absolutely religion neutral that way. Though I believe in my own faith, but that's a different, my personal conviction.
Of course.
It has nothing to do with my public space.
Yeah.
Okay. So there, he had to make him into God because the symbolism had to be so powerful that everybody rallied around it.
Of course.
So the treatment also changes with time and it changes with area. That is why there are so many Ramayans. So very often people ask me, which is the real Ramayana?
Yeah.
The real Ramayana is the one that you believe in.
Yeah. Now, this is a very common question.
So,
In fact,
but
all
that-
of us have that question.
Exactly.
in
So
our
there is
mind.
no real Ramayana.
True.
Each Ramayana is as real as the last one.
Yeah.
You know, I am talking to you and you are talking to me as an author. When I go into the cricket commentary space, nobody knows I write.
Yeah.
Or even if they do, it is incidental.
True.
I am as good as the commentary I do.
Yeah.
So which one is the real me?
Yeah.
All of it is.
All of it is
All of
real.
me is real. I am a father, I am a grandfather, whatever else, I am a husband, a friend. So many other things. All of us are multiple things. And each one of them is you. It is just that they are facets of you which come out at different points of time. Likewise, the Ramayana.
Wow, interesting. That's, I'm sure, again, a lot of research. Now, coming to your latest book, Akashvani.
Sure thing.
How many people did you interview while you were writing for this book?
Over 150.
Wow! And how long did that research process take?
About
you?
a year and a half.
That's a lot.
On an average, a book takes me 2.5 years, 6 months to write, 2 years to research.
Interesting. What's your favorite memory of Akashvani? Like, it's been there for a very long while. From your childhood till now.
Yes. My favorite memory of Akashvani is not related to the book.
Of course.
My favorite memory of Akashvani is the first time I went on radio as a child artist. That is almost at the age of 7 or 8 when I first faced a microphone.
Okay.
Now, my father used to work for All India Radio. He was in the news section. He was a journalist.
Yeah.
And when I did my first theatre project for the school and I did a second one the next year, he said, radio mein bhi children's program hota hai. Let me take you there and introduce you to the producer. So I was introduced to the producer. I went through an audition. My voice was found appropriate. And I do this on a Wednesday. And it so happens that on a Thursday, a certain child artist who was to participate in the Sunday children's program falls sick. So the producer remembers me and says, "Tum aa jao. Karoge Sunday ko?" "Haan ji, karenge."
Oh, nice.
So I go there and the first recording is that the story is that I'm supposed to have topped my school.
Okay.
And I am running towards my mother saying, "Ma, main pass ho gaya, ma, main pass ho gaya."
Yeah.
So as the story goes, I stand, us time ye special effects vagare nahi the.
Yeah.
It is years back.
Yeah.
So I had to actually run towards the microphone.
Yeah.
So I run towards the microphone and I say, "Ma, main pass ho gaya, ma, main pass ho gaya."
Yeah.
And the producer is watching from behind a glass pane.
Yeah.
And when I reach the microphone, I look at him and he's doing this.
Okay.
I was wondering, कि first appearance, first dialogue on radio, क्या हो गया?
Yeah.
So he comes in, a very, very nice gentleman. I remember him still. Walks up to me and says, "खोते, लगता है third division में पास हुआ है। तो first division वाली शक्ल बनाना है यार, वैसे बोल." No, that was my first lesson in radio.
Okay.
That how much I was concentrating on my expression, my body language.
Yeah.
It had to be my voice which had to communicate it. That's the first thing I learned about radio. My first lesson which happened was that. And that stays with me till date. And I could say that everything I have done behind a microphone, even today talking in a podcast, actually derives from that one moment when I learned the value of voice modulation on radio behind the mic. That's the loveliest memory I have.
Picking up on that, your performance on stage for theatre, where voice obviously has a huge impact there also, because the audience need to hear and connect with you. True. But it's also a lot more a visual element than as a voiceover artist. Is that two completely different things altogether?
No.
How did you develop your own skills?
See, one is a subset of the other. The voice is a subset of the entire theatre experience. So I think the core or the mother art is theatre. From the theatre you derive other things. It's just that in some places the voice takes more importance when you're behind a microphone. But the theatre actually permeates your entire personality. Even the way I am talking to you right now, a bit of the hand movements and the way I'm moving my body, all that is coming instinctively from theatre.
Makes sense.
The only disadvantage is at home where the wife says, "Mere saath drama mat kiya karo." So, like that is something which is difficult to do.
Okay. So, coming back to the book, and we are talking about your research here.
Yes.
So, once from the British Broadcasting Channel, now from AIR came into India, there was a very interesting story behind how the name AIR and Akashvani came into picture. Can you please narrate the story?
It was initially called the Indian State Broadcasting Service. And there was a gentleman called Lionel Fielding who had come from BBC. Okay. And he wanted to change the name because he thought this was too bureaucratic a name for a broadcasting agency. Indian State Broadcasting Service, broadcasting on this channel. It was too cold. So he wanted to make it something that was more relatable. Okay. But then this was a name which was actually conceptualized by the Viceroy. And the Viceroy had done it, so he could not overrule it. So he went to a party one day. He was in a party one day with the Viceroy. And when he said, "Oh, how is the Viceroy asked him, how is the broadcasting service doing?" Oh, he said, "It is fine. It is going all over India." So, and the Viceroy kind of looked at him and said, "Oh, it's going all over India. That seems a nice name for it." He said, "Yes, that's the point. Your Excellency, what an idea. We'll change the name from tomorrow." And he kind of conned the Viceroy into suggesting a name which was at the back of his mind anyway. And then it became All India Radio. It became All India Radio.
And how Akashvani came?
Akashvani is another name which came in because they obviously after independence they wanted it to be Indianized as a name. Akashvani. Now there are multiple stories going with it. One is that Tagore wrote a poem at the time, and that poem we have quoted in the book, where he said he first used the word Akashvani. But a more interesting story is of, radio did not come to India at the Akashvani or All India Radio level at one time. It came in the form of radio clubs. It came in the form of small radio stations which were started by the princely states. So they were all there and they all assimilated into All India Radio when India became independent. So there was Lahore, there was Delhi, there was Baroda, there was Hyderabad, there was there were various places they were there, Bangalore. So all these radio stations were there. So it is said that there was a broadcasting station to be started in Bangalore. And there was one Professor Ramarao who had conceptualized this, and he was going to start the first radio station. Now they didn't know what name to use for it. So he and his assistant were debating this. And they went on and they kept debating, ek use kare, wo use kare, nothing worked out. So his wife who was cooking came in and said, "What are you talking about?" So he said, "No, we are trying to name radio." It is, "What is radio?" And he explained कि ऐसे जैसे हम यहाँ broadcast करेंगे, then it आकाश में से जाके उधर आवाज सुनाई देगी. So she said, "Oh, Akashvani," and it became a name. So there are multiple stories, but this is by and large the most interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I was reading the book also, places like I was like, oh wow, this is actually very interesting. And your storytelling, even though it's a non-fiction, that was amazing in its way. So could you tell us a little bit about like how we were talking about now also? Radio initially, like today we know, like even for me from my childhood, I had a system.
Yeah.
We just had to, and by then I think very quickly FM also came into picture. We just had to make sure that the channel is tuned in and we just had to play.
Correct.
But it did not start like that. There were, like you were telling, there were radio clubs,
Yes.
there were subscriptions,
Yes,
and then
yes,
people had to take it back. And then later the long frequency changed into short frequency,
Yes,
and then
yes,
you
yes.
had it being available for more
Masses,
number of
more
people,
number of
for the
people.
mass audience.
Yeah.
So how was this journey like, and how was the acceptance of a medium like this? Because it's a very strong medium.
Absolutely,
Radio has
absolutely.
a huge power.
Yes.
How was the acceptance of radio in general in India?
Initially, it was very elitist. Having a radio was something big
Of
because
course.
people who studied abroad
Yeah.
normally got radio sets with them.
Of course.
And there are many cases where they also got small transmission sets. So they could run their own
Yeah.
radio club and their own radio
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
But the story that one of the South-based people told us was that
Uh-huh.
when his father had got a transmission
Yeah.
set when he came
Yeah.
back from the UK after his education, and he set up a small radio station in Madras,
Yeah.
which was the Madras Radio Club.
Yes.
But he told me the story. He said that at that time radios were not put in the house. It was a ceremony.
Yeah.
You know, you got up in the morning, you picked up your radio, put it outside the house,
Yes.
and started playing
In
it at
your
full
veranda,
volume,
of course.
so that everybody would know that हमारे घर में radio
Yes,
चलता है,
yes.
and people would gather around the radio and listen.
Mm.
I also have memories of my grandfather
Yeah.
in a small village in Maharashtra,
Yeah.
where my grandfather, as the landholder, had the radio, and that radio was played for the masses when everybody came to that room. Everybody sat around it,
Yeah.
and then the radio was very ceremoniously
Yeah.
switched on.
Yeah.
We had a radio at home, but there when I went, I was not allowed to touch the radio because बच्चों के खेलने की चीज है क्या? ये तो मतलब नाना जी आके करेंगे ना, तभी तो होगा. Kids can't do this. That was so. It was a very elitist kind of thing at that moment of time. But that actually helped it survive
Yeah.
because radio went into loss.
True.
There was no revenue model.
Yeah.
The only revenue model was that when you imported radio sets, there was a cess on it.
Okay.
That cess went into broadcasting.
Yeah.
So, but over a period of time, that started going down. The expenses started
Of
going up,
course, yes.
partly because all the technicians, all the artists had to come from BBC.
Ah, true.
And they charged a bomb. Like
Huge.
the chief
In
engineer
euros,
used to
that too.
charge £2,000 sterling at that
Yeah.
point of time.
Okay.
And where too they used to complain that they are not getting enough.
Yeah.
So at
Yeah.
one point of time, they folded up and went back,
Of course.
saying कि इतना पैसा कम पैसे में हम यहाँ नहीं काम
Yeah.
करेंगे. So it was an elitist thing. So the radio companies would always be in a loss. It was the companies were closed down twice.
Yeah.
Once there was a private radio
Yeah.
company which closed down,
Yeah.
and then there was the government one also which closed down.
Mhm.
But there was tremendous pressure because only the elite had radios.
Mm.
So they exerted a back
wanted
pressure on them,
it
saying, "Oh, come
still.
on, you can't. We have invested so much into
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
and our prestige is involved in
Yeah.
this. So you cannot shut off down radio
That
stations."
helped, in fact.
That helped. That helped.
Ah, that's
And then
fantastic.
gradually, as shortwave turned into medium wave,
Of
and
course.
then it became. Then of course came FM,
Yeah.
and then as the content become more localized, radio
Yeah.
became more and more popular.
True, very true. And the impact of radio in India has been huge. Like even when we are talking about our own freedom struggle, the assassination of Gandhiji or the announcement of emergency,
Yes,
or all
yes.
of these actually happened
Yes.
via radio.
Even Mann Ki Baat for Modi ji today.
Exactly.
It's the highest watched radio show ever.
Exactly. So all of these are places where from that time of, we are talking about 50 years ago, all the way till now, people are still depending on radio for multiple things. So what do you think lets radio be so impactful even today? Because today we have so many mediums.
Yes.
Social media, your WhatsApp. Today WhatsApp school is the biggest school for everybody.
Absolutely.
But still radio has a power that nobody else. There's a trust that is built with radio, that if radio is telling, then I'm to believe it. But
Yes,
media and TV and everything, we don't trust it entirely.
Yes.
What do you think? Where does that power or that trust comes from?
The trust comes from history. The fact that it has been there for so long.
Yeah.
So we have been used to respecting the spoken word as through radio for years together.
Yeah.
So we are conditioned into that.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Mm.
And secondly, also for two other reasons.
Mhm.
One is that being on television or being on WhatsApp means you have to be visually fixated on that at a given moment of time, to the exclusion of anything
Of
else.
course.
So there are limits
Of
to how
course.
much WhatsApp you can
True.
explore or how much television
True.
you can watch.
True.
But radio is something that can go on in the background from 7 a.m. in the morning till the time you sleep. So therefore, it is a pervasive influence in you. It is there
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's there in your car. It is then when you are waiting for a metro. It can be there anywhere that you really want to be. So therefore, a radio is more pervasive, and by virtue of being there all the time, everywhere, I think it has much greater influence than anything else. And now, of course, when I refer to waiting for a metro, that's because of the technological advances that are now made.
Yes.
For instance, now there is an application on the mobile by which you can listen to 232 or 250 stations from all over the country, anywhere in the world, in stereophonic sound. Now look at the kind of in your local language. So what the person telling me about it said that look at the influence. So it may not influence your life, he said. But imagine a soldier from Kerala standing guard somewhere in the Himalayas on the Chinese border. And he goes back to his hut or wherever he's living and he switches on his local radio. And how much connected he feels with his motherland. This is what an influence that radio has on that person. No, they discovered through the app, because now they can, with the app and with all the other things, they can monitor as to which programs are being most heard, which are being,
also becomes accessible.
data becomes accessible. So they know who's listening to you, what programs are being listened to you. They can phase out the programs that are not being heard and so on. So one of the things they discovered through the medium of the application, for instance, is that the biggest listenership for Vivid Bharati outside India is in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Now imagine Spain. One would think Mauritius or Fiji or somewhere. Now they tried investigating why that was so.
Okay.
It is because during the tomato harvesting season, Spain gives visas very readily to anybody willing to come and work in the tomato fields.
Oh.
So a lot of boys from Haryana and Punjab normally go to Spain for that. Because the rule is that if you do it 3 years in a row and your reports are satisfactory, you get a visa for the European Union. From there, they migrate either they settle down there or they go to Canada or USA, which is easy. So for that reason, they all go to Spain. And these boys from villages in Punjab who land up working 12 hours a day in the Spanish fields, they are totally lost. Culturally, they are not connected to anyone or anything. So that is where Vivid Bharati comes in. They listen to Vivid Bharati all day long from morning till evening. Now look at the range, look at the connectivity that radio is offering. It's actually anchoring them to their lives and they're back to their homes. Exactly. Exactly. So nice. And how much of their morale actually goes up because they are able to listen to songs they heard when they were back in their villages. So radio is pervasive.
Technology is great, but ever would there be, like, this is a question where people keep asking about books also. Do you think bookstores will shut down or physical books will go lost in time because of all the Kindle and ebooks and everything? So is there a chance that radio could go down, or thanks to technology it's only going to boom like forever?
Thanks to technology it is going to boom forever. I'll give you a small example. Now, there is something called a free dish.
Okay.
A free dish is actually that. It's a dish which is free of charge. You just dial a particular number and the person will come and install it. He will take some minor installation charges, and that free dish, which belongs to All India Radio, to Prasar Bharati actually, which is the parent body, will give you access to some 100 and something TV channels and so many 100 radio channels. So this radio and television can now reach places which we have been unable to reach by any form of communication. In a remote village in say Chhattisgarh or somewhere in the hills where there is no other, where there is no radio towers, where there is no mobile connectivity, you can be connected through technology. And this is giving radio and television such a huge reach that all the OTT platforms now actually contribute some 700-800 crores to All India Radio to buy time on that. So they have Sony Live on it. They have all the OTT platforms are there on television on free dish, and they contribute a huge amount of revenue, which is growing phenomenally every year because the reach is so massive. So the reach has only increased with technology; it has not gone down. You know,
that's such a good news. I mean, to be very honest, with so many contributors coming into All India Radio as well, it's just going to be there.
It's just going to be there. It's going to be there at a huge level. So there is a story about radio, which establishes that radio was always alive. It was told to me by a cricket commentator friend. He said he was doing cricket commentary for a match in the West Indies. And he had Yashpal Sharma as the expert commentator. So he said it ended around 2:30. And 2:30, he said, just as a formality, I made an announcement that if anybody has a question of Yashpal Sharma, you can call in and we will take the question. So he said, we thought ki itni raat ko who will be listening to radio and who would be listening? He said, we started that question session at 2:30 and finally at 4 a.m. we had to actually shut it off and tell people that we cannot take any more questions.
Okay.
So that means people were listening to it. They said, how is it a dead medium?
Yeah.
People are listening to radio.
Of course.
That is why they kept calling in with questions.
Yeah.
So there are these amazing stories about radio which keep coming out, and which also establish that radio still has a place in our lives.
True. I think even I have called to radio some 2-3 times when you're either when there are programs when they're asking you a question and you might get a voucher,
right,
or
right,
they're
right,
asking
right,
for
right, right,
song
right.
recommendations,
Absolutely.
and somehow or the other I have been lucky. Randomly, when I'm in the car and I'm switching on the radio, and habitually in car I always use radio. I don't use Bluetooth and my songs are out. I've heard my voice back. It feels very good. It feels awkward.
Not at all.
Also.
Not at all. Not at all.
And immediately what I do, it's in radio. I immediately record that whole thing in my phone and I'm like, dude, I came in radio.
Look at the pleasure on your face for this. Now this is unmatched because this radio can do to you. Nobody else can. Yes.
Now connecting it back to the commentary that we were talking about. So radio also had evolutions, like how the programs were built.
Yes.
Music was one thing,
but
sports commentary is something else altogether. But it did not start everything. Today we have live commentary. The thing is literally going on. We're watching it on TV. Somebody is on the car. We even remember the scenes where in the car Shah Rukh and Hrithik Roshan is traveling and they are watching to the listening to the cricket commentary. So this also had evolution. Initially I think there were how they communicated. How did they make sure that they are able to get this live commentary out there? Because today technology allows you to watch, record, broadcast. But initially you don't have these technologies. But then people were still able to sit in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu, in Assam and still listen to what's really happening in that match, happening anywhere in the world. Right. How did they do that?
Okay, first one misconception has to be cleared, which is that from day one, commentary was always live.
Oh, okay.
It was never recorded.
Okay.
It's always the commentator sitting in the sports field, looking at the match progressing and speaking out. Except that the great divide happened when television started airing matches.
True.
So therefore, part of the audience actually drifted to television. But so the core sports lover always stayed with radio because the radio gave you a wealth of detail. A television commentator can at times afford to be lazy because he knows you are watching the action. But a radio commentator has to be speaking every single second that the match is on and you are on air. So he always has to keep adding facts to it, adding trivia to it, adding more visual descriptions to it. Therefore, the match comes more alive when you are listening to it on radio as against on television, where he says, "वो गेंद आई, उन्होंने ऊंची उछाल दी है." और फिर then the camera pans on the ball. But you do not know, for instance, in a cricket commentary, whether it is going to land up in the hands of a fielder or across the boundary.
True,
on a radio that's built up, saying, अब वो उछाल दी है, ये प्लेयर पीछे भाग रहे हैं, बॉर्डर के पास है, बॉर्डर में जाएगी कि नहीं जाएगी, पकड़ा जाएगा कि नहीं जाएगा, कि छक्का हो जाएगा, कितने रन होंगे. He's trying to add life to it. He's trying to add energy to it. So actually, radio commentary is keeping sports alive. And the fact that cricket is now a religion is only because of radio commentary. Otherwise, how many people actually watch cricket matches? Or how many watched at that moment of time? And how many heard commentary?
How many had TV access
TV,
at that point
forget
of time?
TV access, even when there was no TV.
Exactly.
How many did actually go to watch cricket? Most of them heard cricket. So radio was responsible for actually popularizing cricket and making into the religion that it is today. And this particularly happened when the transformation took place from English commentary to regional language commentary.
Of course.
You know, so when Hindi commentary started, Sushil Doshi told me about this, and many other local language commentators, Marathi, Gujarati, they have told me that when it went into the individual languages, then actually the game spread further. Because everybody everywhere could listen to commentary. I have a friend in Calcutta who said that when the Mohun Bagan and East Bengal matches were going on, football, and commentary was being broadcast, he said, I could move through the market without a transistor. Because when I went into the market, every shop was running commentary. So I knew where the player was at one moment of time, and at the second shop I heard what he did, and the third I knew whether it was a goal or not. So I just had to walk through the market and there was continuity in the commentary because everybody was listening to radio commentary there. So that is the life that radio brings into it. That's how sports. And now the commentary is being used to also encourage other sports. So now you have commentary on kabaddi, you have commentary on, all kinds of things. There's even commentary on chess. There's commentary on billiards, which is a very difficult game to actually, broadcast commentary on. And there's a commentary on the boat races that take place in Kerala. So you can listen to it on your local radio station.
And radio also gives you information about that
Lot
game,
of information.
the facts about that game, and not just what is happening.
That's what I said. You have to keep feeding.
Information.
You have to keep feeding information to radio because you can't afford to stop.
Yeah.
You cannot have a 5-second pause on radio. 5 seconds would be havoc. I mean, everybody would be breathing down your neck. So therefore, you have to keep speaking every single second that you are on air for a commentary, and that brings more life into it.
Like if you're telling about a chess championship having a live commentary, there are instances where the person is literally thinking for 2-3 minutes.
More than that, maybe even 15 minutes before making a move. What do you do in the meanwhile? I ask people that. What do you do in that meanwhile? I have a friend called Raman Bhanot, who's such an expert commentator that he can do commentary on snakes and ladders and Ludo also if you want.
Okay.
He's so good. He can do it on. So he said, okay, there we feed background. Player's background, what is the likely thing that he's going to do, what are the possible responses to that move, what move could happen, where have they two competed before, what move led to what downfall, what move led to what victory. We keep telling people about that. And that is really an analysis of the match going on, which is happening parallel to the match being played. So that's live commentary for that. At the other end, what do you do for cricket for commentary on table tennis? It's such a fast game that you couldn't possibly see the ball whiz by. You couldn't possibly say that he raised by the time you say that he's hit it, by that time there have been 6 points traded. So what do you do there? So there the game is going on at a hectic pace. Commentary is going on at a very slow pace. The two players, their backgrounds, what kind of victory, what was the point, and when the point is scored, the analysis of the point. That this was the result of 60 rallies, out of which were played from away from the table or close to the table or close to the net, and keep giving these things as facts. So doesn't the game become much richer because you can understand it more when you are listening to commentary. You learn about the game also. Otherwise, just looking at a table tennis match on television, I just see people doing this. I mean, how much do you understand of the game because of that? Whether it was the service was a spin, whether it was a smash, and what is likely to happen if he plays further away from the table, after how many strokes will he come back close to the table, what is going to happen? All these things the commentator tells you. So commentary brings things to life. It is not something it's not just a description. You are adding to the game. That's why games have become more popular.
Interesting. So now, AIR has always been there, but then somehow we've always, like at least we who were born post the 90s, we have a tendency to jump towards FM, while my dad still prefers Akashvani. So, I mean, obviously that's always going to be a generational gap between FM and Akashvani. True. But did FM bring down the audience of Akashvani, or how is it? Like, how is it going to look like in the future? In a way, FM was started by Akashvani. Initially, FM was only on Akashvani. And then Akashvani started letting out part of the spectrum to others. So it was on the Akashvani platform that, for instance, the Times channel and other channels were launched on that. But subsequently, they all went into individual broadcasting, and you have n number of stations now, including community radio stations which broadcast only over 10 kilometers. And they could be run from your drawing room or anything else. There are schools and college radios which only broadcast on the campus. So one of the positive things is that it expands the reach of radio because now you have localized content. So if you have a Janakpuri radio and you listen to it, you know what's happening in your neighborhood. So in a way, it has added to the overall radio connectivity. But FM has taken away from radio to an extent. But radio has been able to fight back by reinventing itself. And also by trying to use technology to leverage itself more. Otherwise, it would have stayed back in the olden days. But hardcore All India Radio fans will always listen to All India Radio. For instance, the story goes that All India Radio mostly plays retro songs. There are programs which are specially aired for current film music or for Western music and others. But a very large segment, say 50-60%, is for old songs. And then within radio, there are programs by name, which only play songs from the 60s. There's another one which plays only from the 70s, from the 80s, and so on. So now, when I said to the radio people that, are you really dying down? He says, do you know where Mohammed Rafi is heard the most? I said, Batao. It's not only radio in Kerala. In Kerala, there's a Rafi Road.
There's a roughy road.
Yes.
There's nowhere is there a roughy road
Yeah.
anywhere in the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
So people there did not listen to radio and did not listen to All India Radio. Why would they name a road as roughy
Very true. No, this is actually very true. In fact,
road? Again, sorry.
no problem. So this is actually very true. In fact, I've always been born and brought up from Kerala, but today when old Hindi songs play, I sing along. I
Yes.
know the lyrics. This
Yes.
is thanks to my dad playing radio all the time at my home, and this has always been there. And people get surprised. How do you sing? You don't talk too much of Hindi, but then how do you sing and how do you know the lyrics? I know Hindi lyrics better than the Hindi speaking
Yes,
community
yes,
for
yes,
a lot of
yes,
songs.
yes, yes.
But that is very true. We actually listen to a lot of songs, and I think that's the reason why a lot of us easily pick up Hindi also, because
Yes,
the language
yes, yes.
also really, we've learned a lot from radio in terms of language.
Yes. At
also.
times, even now, All India Radio is the gold standard as far as diction and pronunciation
Of
goes.
course.
I mean, when we were younger, we were told,
Yes.
ya to BBC suno, ya
Yeah.
radio ki news suno,
Yeah.
your language will
Yeah.
improve. Because
Yeah.
that is the way they speak.
Yeah.
About this thing about your knowing all the lyrics,
Mm.
this challenge was thrown to me by Yunus Khan, who's a radio jockey in Vivid Bharati in Mumbai.
Uh-huh.
He said, अगर आपको लगता है कि younger generation is not listening to All India Radio,
Yeah.
we play retro music 50%, 60% of the time.
True.
He says, sit down amongst or stand with
Yeah.
people who are in their 20s and start humming a song
Yeah. They'll
from
sing
your
along.
times. They will
They'll
sing along. So if
And
they don't listen to
true,
them, how are they
true,
singing along
true,
with you? So they
true.
do listen to that radio
Yeah.
also.
No, this is actually very true, because recently in the last, I think 1-2 years, I haven't listened to radio much.
Hmm.
And I actually do not know the lyrics of a lot of the new songs, because let it be FM, whichever channel I'm listening to. With radio, you're just listening. It feeds on.
It feeds.
You
It
know
goes
the
into your
lyrics, you
subconscious
learn
and
the
it is there with
lyrics.
you. It's part of
It is
you.
there. But
You know?
nowadays you're not listening, and I'm like, in the last 2-3 years, I don't know the lyrics of any of the songs. But that's very true. Amazing. But thank you so much. This conversation was so interesting. What is the future holding for you as a creator, as an artist? What is your future looking like? Which is a good long future.
The future really knows better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that when it presents itself and says, will you do this? I'll say yes.
That's
But
so
yes, it certainly
nice.
holds books. I
Yeah.
have got another 2 books down the line.
Mhm.
After which I'll probably sit down and decide whether I want to write more, what kind of things do I want to write about.
Yeah.
That is something I've left
Yeah.
open.
Yeah.
I've done enough of writing now, and
Yeah.
the person craving new experiences in me is now biting at my inside saying kuch aur karo.
Of
But
course.
itna kuch kar liya hai, and at 70 there are limitations to the number of things that I'll do.
Yeah.
And yes, I enjoy the process of writing.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the process of writing,
Yeah.
particularly when you are writing non-fiction, you are
Mm.
investigating a lot of things.
Mm.
There is an aha moment.
Of course.
When there are little bits of pieces here and there of information that you've put together,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they gel,
Yeah.
and you get a chapter and you say, oh my God, now
Oh,
this is it.
worked out.
That is
Yeah.
a great high for me.
Of
So maybe I
course.
will always continue to write
That's
and
true.
continue with the other things as far as I can.
Amazing. That's so cool. Really, so you are such an inspiration to a lot of people who I feel there are a good segment of people who still wish that they did something at some point of time, but then did not, and today feel like it is a little too late to start. But you are a living example of, it could be post 60, it could be any time in your life you want to try. You just have to raise your hand and tell yes, you
Absolutely.
will be able to do it. I would want you to give a message to everybody, reader, non-reader, anyone who can literally just know how you are doing it. What is your message to people?
Well, first, of course, say yes to life. Whenever an opportunity presents itself, raise your hand, say yes, take that chance. The worst that will happen is you will fail, but you will learn anyway. So it doesn't matter. And the second is, please be responsible for your own actions. Take responsibility for what you do. Because these two work together. You can raise your hand once, and if it leads to something that is not substantial, or it leads to a problem, you could always say कि उसकी वजह से हुआ, उसकी वजह से हुआ, उसकी वजह से हुआ. And then you won't ever try again.
Yeah.
But if you take responsibility and say ये मैंने हाथ उठाया था,
Yeah.
मेरे हाथ उठाने से मैंने किया,
Mm.
it did not work out because maybe I made mistakes somewhere. Let me realign, and next time I raise my hand, let me incorporate that realignment into my raising or into my thinking.
True.
So if you take full responsibility for what you are doing at a personal level, you'll be able to raise your hand every time.
Yeah.
You'll be able to try things every time.
Yeah.
And I assure you,
Yeah.
you're going to have a rip-roaring time living.
That's so cool, yo. Thank you so much for that amazing conversations. To all the audience, check out his latest book and everything else that he's done before. They are amazing. Honestly, you're my new role model. But thank you so much for coming over today to the Next Show. We had a lovely time talking to you, and I look forward for more conversations.
Thank you so much, Nagma. I hope this stays on.
Have an amazing life ahead.
You take care. God bless.